Okay, so this is the Honeywell Evaporative Tower model, and I got this one because I have officially decided that evaporative is the best kind that you can get. These are ultrasonic types, and there's also steam types as well. Both of those, the steam is the vaporizer, and both of those kinds, according to Consumer Reports. And whenever they did that study, they had dozens of different models, and they found that both the vaporizer and the ultrasonic, they emitted a bunch of bacteria into the air, whereas evaporative, it emitted zero. So this is by far the most healthy form of humidifier. But then whenever we start getting into those, which one is the best? I have three different types. This is the Evap 100. I don't really like it that much. And then this is the EV 100. And, oh no, it's the Evap 40. I don't really like, I do like this one. I like this one more than the smaller one. And I got that one because this one is a little bit, it seems a little overkill. It has 4 gallons, and I typically don't use that much in one night. And the best way to use a humidifier, an evaporative type, since they have the little wicks inside, is to only have enough water in there to where everything actually dries up, and then you can turn it off and it can be completely dry. Otherwise, there's going to be mold and fungus and everything is going to start to grow in there. Sure, it's not going to necessarily be thrown into the air, but it will still be in there, and you'll have to clean it more often, and it can still get into the air. Not necessarily because it'll be evaporated, but this still is a it's a fan, and so if you have bacteria and mold and whatnot growing inside, then it still seems like, it seems possible to me that it'll still throw it up into the air. But during that Consumer Reports, they didn't find any, even though they were intentionally adding bacteria into it. So I don't know, the jury's still out, but to be safe, I think it's best to go ahead and let everything dry out in between uses, especially if you're going to be doing it for a couple days of no use. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and open this one up. The reason I got this one is for the same reason. It seems like the 4-gallon one is a bit overkill. I usually only use about 1 gallon per night, and this one I am hoping is going to be a bit more, what is the term? I'm hoping I'm going to like it more than this one. This guy, I don't like the sound of it. It makes a weird rev sound every 5 minutes or so, and it just annoys the crap out of me. So we'll see if this one does that. All right, user manual. Okay, Looks fancy. As far as like just the looks go, this one looks a bit more futuristic and like slicker than the Vornado one. However, the Vornado is rugged and I like it. We'll see if this one is like persnickety at all. Let's see. So it says, before the first use, install the float paddle. I guess that's what this first thing was. So with this, this humidifier uses a float system to regulate the water flow from the tank to the reservoir. The float paddle must be installed for the unit to operate. So you can see the persnickety part. We'll see how easy that is. So remove water tank. Oh, it is taped into place. Line up the front float paddle on the bottom of the reservoir. And place float rod over the brackets and press firmly until it clicks into the brackets. Okay, and then on here it says top on this side, so you can tell it goes this way. And that's just gonna go right in there. And that's the snap. So that's good now. Cool. It says do not add essential oils to the water tank. Okay, and then pour there, and that should be good. I feel confident enough not to read this. We're just gonna plug it in and play. Now the great thing about Evaporative model is that you do not have to use distilled water. With the ultrasonic, if you want to be safe, you do need to use distilled water because bacteria and minerals and everything will just be spewed into the air with the ultrasonic. With this one, it only evaporates water, and so only water goes into the air. But for ease of purposes today, I'm going to go ahead and use distilled. All right, and then so the one thing that I didn't really think about was, yeah, any evaporative model, you're gonna need a wick. So let's just double check and make sure that there is a wick installed in here. It says it comes with one. Yeah, so here's the wick installed here. All right. And so the reason why it's really good to not have to use the distilled water is because you're going to have to buy new wicks every couple of months. And so the amount of money that you would be spending on distilled, you can spend on the wicks. So they really average out in terms of cost. But when it comes to health, they do not average out. All right, and so we will turn on here. Okay. And you can see it is, it's currently set to 30%. Oh, currently says it's 30% here. That's surprising. I didn't think it was. Yeah, so this says it's 30%. My hygrometer says it's 38%. That is a drastic difference. It says it's 44 relative humidity. This one says it's 36, and this one says it's 29. Ah! What the heck is it? I've never had this drastic of differences between hygrometers, so we'll come back to that. Have the arrows going up and down. I mean, 60% is about the max that you want to have it at. Otherwise, it'll start to get mold overgrowth, and you definitely don't want that. And then this button right here changes the speed. So you have high, low, medium. Yeah, so low, medium, high. And then you have a timer to tell it to turn off at a certain point. Looks like you have 4 hours, 8 hours, and 12 hours. But it does say that it has an automatic switch off whenever it gets up to the amount that you want. However, if it doesn't have the correct amount, if this says it's 30%, it's not going to stop until it gets up to 67%, even though it's set as 60%. Because this one says 37, this one says 30. We need to have consensus in order for me to know what the humidity actually is. I like the sound of this one so far. This one had a bit of a higher pitched noise, which I really didn't enjoy. And the fact that this is top fill makes it so much easier. This guy, you actually have to take it off, you have to turn it over, and you have to apply force to get it off. And so, you know, it adds up. It'll definitely add up to calories over time. And I just don't feel like having to put a little bit of force. I mean, it's not much, but still, if it's unnecessary, then why make people do it if you can just do a top fill? So you can either do the top fill, or you can actually take this thing off all the way and fill it up in the sink. So I like the versatility of this one. It looks good. The real estate on this is very nice comparatively to the other big one, 4-gallon one. I haven't been able to find a good spot in my room for that one. Whereas this one, it takes up about 1/3 of the space, but yeah, it just goes up. And I have a lot more space going up in my room than I do on the floor or on the counter or nightstand or whatever. So I like the design of this one a lot better. And yeah, we'll see if it does anything annoying. If not, then this is going to be my bedroom humidifier. As for the humidity levels, it's been running here for a little while. It says it's at 37%. This is at 39. This is at 35. So we have a pretty good consensus now. Let me just double check this one here. And this guy's up at 40.8. So this one's pretty high up there. So we have everything from 35 to about 41. Seems to be dropping down. It's already down to 40.4. So anyways, with that, 37's right in the middle. I would just keep it like that. I mean, it sounds good. So it's a good idea to have a couple different hygrometers just to triangulate what the humidity level actually is. You can always do the salt test, which will be that's you can just YouTube that, or I'll talk more about that in a different video. Yeah, so it's looking good. It's been running now for about 45 minutes or so. Hasn't done anything annoying, and so if it was going to, it would have by now. So the big one This one, about every 5 to 10 minutes, it makes a glug 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 sound whenever the water from the jugs starts to, like, it gets evaporated, and then a little bit more from here goes into the bottom of the tank, and so it makes a little glug glug. It sounded like somebody was knocking on my door the first time I heard it. Now that I know what the sound is, it's obvious that that's what's going on when it happens. But it's really nice that this doesn't make any of those noises. And then this one, it just makes, it sounds like it kind of revs every 3 to 5 minutes or so. And so this one is doable. I can sleep with this one. This one, not a chance. I can't sleep with it. I can't watch TV with it. It annoys the heck out of me. But you know, maybe some people, I bet my mom wouldn't even notice it. So if you're older, if you don't have like very acute senses, then you could go with that one. But this one's fantastic. So I'm gonna put this one in my room. I'm gonna use it for a couple of weeks before I upload this video, just to make sure that it's good. And yeah, we'll go from there. But the one thing that I do want to mention is the wick is located back here, and it's like in a closed compartment. If you don't let this thing dry out in between uses, it is going to get moldy in there. It's just gonna happen. I do feel some airflow in here, so it should dry out pretty well, and so I'm gonna make sure that it does that in between uses. But yeah, you'll see like reviews on some of the Amazon comments or whatnot that say, oh, it's so gross, like I open the thing up and it gets moldy. Well, that's because you didn't let it dry out in between, and mold grows in damp, dark places. So that, I mean, unfortunately this isn't stressed very much in like I don't know who reads the manual, but I did a bunch of research on looking at different models, and nobody ever says you need to let it dry out completely in between uses. And so that's just something that I've come to. I'm perfectly willing to fill it up every night before I use it, if that's what keeps me safe. I'll check back in a couple weeks. And we're back. Not 2 weeks, but just 3 days later, because it's already painfully obvious that this one just is not going to work out. It's painful because it was so perfect, except for a couple unfortunate things. For one, it has an automatic shutoff whenever it gets, whenever the water goes pretty much all the way down. So there is a little bit of water left in here. Just enough to create like a little bit of algae growth in there. And I mean, that's not super concerning, but the main thing is, as I feared, in the back, this guy, it's been off for like 2 days, and it's still a little bit moist back here. So whenever it's on, the air comes through here and up and out. And so if it were to actually stay on, even when the water is pretty much empty, then it would allow it to dry out completely, but it doesn't. And so with that, it's not going to dry out completely every day in between uses. With this one, it stays on the entire time. Whenever I wake up in the morning, there's typically just like a little puddle left in here. And that's only because I've gotten really good at judging how much I need. But the main thing is, this will keep running until both of the wicks dry out and that puddle also dries up. So this is definitely the safest bet. I can leave it running until it's all the way dry, then I can turn it off, or I can just leave it running all day, and that's fine. I'd rather use electricity than risk my health with mold and fungus growth.